Hey, classmates. Guess who?
Deanna. Teach. Hey guys, this is Brett, and coming to you live from the amazing studios of our dining room with episode 59 of Hard Lessons True Crime Podcast.
That's right.
So, Teach, how was your week?
Frustrating.
Oh,
It was very long,
it was very cold.
cold, long, but otherwise, made it through it all right. How
Nice.
about yours?
It was pretty good other than the cold. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I used to I would rather it be cold than hot any day. I hated the summers. I loved the fall and winter. I'm still not a huge fan of summer, but I cannot stand winter anymore. Like, I want it to snow on Christmas because the world's most amazing granddaughter always wants to see snow when they come up. And it usually snows 3 or 4 days after they leave,
Or before.
or 2 or 3 days before they get here, and then it's already melted by the time they get here. So, but yeah, I'm ready for warmer weather. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, having 2 nights this week where the temperatures dropped down into the negatives was no bueno. One day the high barely reached 10 degrees, so I did not like it.
Nope, nobody really does. Unless
Mm.
you're the weird ones that live up in Canada and/or Alaska.
Now, if you're listening to us and you live in Canada or Alaska, you ain't weird. But we love weird. So maybe you are weird.
I
Anyhow.
wasn't meaning it derogatory.
Oh, no, I was just clarifying in case somebody took it that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My tone of voice was not nice.
They didn't hear your smile.
Okay, so it's my tone of voice.
Yeah. But anyway, I get you.
Okay.
I don't. There is a young lady that graduated high school with my older brother that lives in Alaska. And, for the sake of the state of Alaska, I'm glad that there are people that does like to live up there. But do not count. I'd like to visit someday. But as far as living, I don't think I could.
I don't think you could either.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
You liked it when it would snow and get cold from the comfort of your home.
Yeah, if I could stay inside the house and not have to go out and work and just enjoy the snow from the den with the fireplace going and maybe Harry Potter on the TV, perfection.
Yeah.
But having to go out and be the hunter gatherer type in the wilderness, yeah, the good, the, the good Lord knew when He put me in this era, I would not have made it in Little House on the Prairie times.
Yeah, your name just wouldn't be Brett.
Hmm,
And you'd be out there working because that's what you did.
probably,
But I understand.
quite possibly, my love. All right, you ready to get started?
I am. Class is in session.
The more you know.
Dun dun dun.
Teacher's favorite segment.
Yes. I'm opening my filing cabinet now.
There you go. This one come from the mind of Brett. This is something I learned back in the 90s. And I did confirm it, making sure that I didn't make it up like the movie night we had at our house one night. And Talia's friends scared the bejeebies out of a bunch of y'all that apparently nobody remembers but me. So I did confirm this. So it actually did happen.
Okay.
The Gillette Razor Company
Yes.
offered $1 million. Excuse me. I can't even say that without coughing. Offered $1 million to the band ZZ Top to shave their beards off in a commercial, and ZZ Top refused.
Oh. That may have been worth it if it was $1 million apiece.
Right.
But that's their signature, though. I wouldn't have shaved it off either.
No, it probably made way more than $1 million just to have them.
Yeah. I mean, those are. You don't even have to like really know any of their songs to see a picture of them.
Exactly.
Well, good for them.
Alrighty, so this week is an international true crime.
Yes.
So we are going to the country of Finland.
Finland. They
And
make some really good true crime dramas.
Teach has found several on Netflix and has become a huge fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them I've got interested in. A couple of them I just let her watch and I do my thing. I do research or whatever for the podcast. But
Finland.
So we're going to Finland. And I had a hard time, if y'all remember from last week's episode, of saying Roy, which is a very simple word to say. So I'm going to say now I'm going to botch some of these names and places. But
so would we, so you're okay.
The case that we are going to talk about this week is the Lake Bodom murders.
Ooh. So where's Lake Bodom, and don't say Finland?
I am glad you asked. Located in the city of Espoo, 14 miles to the west of the capital, Helsinki, is Lake Bodom.
Ooh.
Now, that's what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
Its actual name, here goes screw up number one, Bodom Minjarvi.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yes, ma'am. The lake is almost 2 miles long, 1 mile wide, and 42 feet deep.
Okay. Not as deep as what I was thinking, but still deep.
It's still pretty deep. Not deep as Lake Meredith over here, but it's getting there. It is popular for camping, fishing, boating, and murder.
Oh, apparently.
June 4th, 1960.
No, this old one.
This is an old one. 15-year-old best friends. Here we go with names.
Okay.
Maila Bjorklund and Anja Maiki, Maki, with two little things over the A, Maiki, set out for a camping trip with their boyfriends.
Uh-oh.
Seppo Boisman and Nils Gustafsson. Both boys are 18 years of age.
And they're how old?
The girl's 15. So this is back in the 60s. A little more trust going on back then, allegedly.
Allegedly. Before the laws of United States, anything below 18 is a felony.
Mm-hmm. First day of the camping trip was fine. They set up camp, enjoyed time in nature, going on hikes.
That would be fun.
And built a campfire.
Hey, you gotta stay warm.
Exactly. I mean, even though it's June, it was still pretty chilly.
At night, yeah, I imagine.
And you and your friends, when you was growing up over in the Lake Meredith area, y'all would go camping quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah, as kids, in the summer we would go, like our family, and then we would have a couple of best friends. My brother and my best friend, we would go and we would be there 2-3 days, and then we'd go camping with them. We were always at the lake.
My time at the lake as a kid growing up, we would stop one of the fast food restaurants here in town, pick up lunch, drive down to Lake McClellan, have a picnic, maybe walk around for an hour or so, and come home.
Well, we need to go camping.
I love camping.
We need to go back camping.
Classmates, the best Father's Day gift that Teach gave me was probably about 10 years ago. And we went to the grocery store and we bought a lot of stuff you eat with your hands. We loaded up our tent. We loaded up our son, Sam, and we went to the lake for the weekend, hung out.
Yep.
That perfect Father's Day weekend.
We need to go do that again.
Yes.
Except it has to be a different lake. But yes, and then got older, was introduced to Lake Fryer, and
the jewel of the Panhandle.
We would go camping up there. Me and my best friend Veronica, we'd go camping up there.
Mm-hmm.
And just, that's what we did.
So you can feel their excitement. You know they're like,
yes, peeing in the woods.
Roasting marshmallows over the campfire.
Yes. Cooking. We tried a pizza once, campfire pizza.
How'd that turn out?
I don't think the first one turned out very good. I think we tried it again and it was better. And then Veronica is famous for her hobos.
Oh, I love hobos.
And she is top notch at them, especially camping. So
yeah.
So when we go off and we're gonna grill or whatever, that's what we do. Is we have.
Man. All right, classmates. So that's it for this week. We're going to go camping now.
No, and we need to use your truck tent.
Okay, so another Father's Day, a few years later, I had bought a new pickup, or new to me pickup, and Teach surprises me with a tent that fits over the bed of the pickup, and you just slide an air mattress, and there's your tent.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we need to do that.
Yes, we do.
All right, back to it. They were excited, building their
campfires. They're hiking, goofing off in the lake. But that would change in the early morning hours of the next day.
Uh-oh.
Sometime between 4 and 6 a.m. on June 5th, so just the very next morning, Maila, Anja, and Seppo were stabbed and bludgeoned to death through the tent.
So 3 of them.
3 of the 4.
What happened to that other one?
An attack on Niels left him with a concussion, a fractured jaw, and several broken facial bones.
Through the tent? Like somebody was on the outside?
Mm-hmm. Just blindly going at it.
Oh my God, this is scary. Oh my gosh. We're taking Emmett with us.
Okay. The first group to come across the scene was a group of, and I don't know how young these boys were. They were just described as bird watching boys.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe like they were in Cub Scouts. Possibly. Or whatever Finland does in comparison to Cub Scouts.
Yeah.
Anja and Seppo's bodies were inside the tent. Maila, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm doing my best, ma'am. Maila. She was Neil's girlfriend. Maila was on top of the tent.
Okay.
She was also nude and laying next to Niels.
Okay, so was the tent flattened?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And they were outside the tent killed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maila's body was worse than her friend's. Evidence showed that she had even been stabbed several times post-mortem after death.
Angry.
Yes, ma'am. The birdwatching boys, when they came forward later, because they did not call the police to the scene.
Why not?
But when they would come forward later, said that there was a man with blonde hair walking away from the scene when they first got there.
Ooh.
Now, I'm thinking that has got to narrow it down because, and I could be wrong in this, but doesn't most Finland have blonde hair?
You stereotyping?
No, I'm not. I'm just thinking.
Thinking out loud?
Yeah.
As a Nordic, I'm not Nordic, but
Yes, ma'am.
Been taught, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
He had blonde hair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the bodies would not be discovered again until around 11 a.m. by a man named Risto Siren. He did call the police, and they arrived around noon.
Well, thank goodness.
Good job, Risto.
Dude, that's not right. This whole picture is wrong. We need to call the authorities.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they thought, well, that dude right there's walking away, so.
Maybe he's getting a hold of them. We're just kids.
So you're a witness. You didn't see it happen, but you came across it, so therefore you're part of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sorry. The crime scene was confusing from the start.
What is people walking by gawking?
The assailant blindly attacked through the tent, not entering the tent. So they knew one of the weapons was a knife, but also there was an unknown blunt object that was used as well.
I'm thinking a big stick. So, but how did those two get out of the tent, though? If they were inside the tent, he had to have unzipped it, which would have left.
Or with all the slashing, maybe they hadn't been stabbed yet, and they were like, "Okay, well, this is we can get out now through this opening," and that's when they got hit with the blunt object,
Well, that
breaking
makes
Nils's
sense.
jaw and several facial bones.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
Also, leading to the confusion was certain items missing from the scene.
Okay.
Both boys, Niels and Seppo, had motorcycles. Both
Oh,
of their keys to their motorcycles
we're gone.
were gone, but
Well,
the motorcycles were still there.
so why take the keys? That's dumb.
Exactly. Also, Niels' shoes were missing from the scene,
Somebody needed some shoes?
but they were found about a half mile away.
They were too small.
Later on, search. Yeah, just kick them off. We'll leave them here.
This is creepy. This is the stuff that you hear that's happened in the 70s and early 80s.
And apparently in the 60s.
I was thinking a couple that was on their honeymoon in Yellowstone or somewhere they were going, and they were killed in their van.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I don't know who, but I distinctly remember something like that happening
yeah.
here in the States.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is. Okay,
Yeah.
continue. I'm sorry.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So not only was this a mysterious case, but as we've seen with a lot of cases here in the U.S., I'm looking at you, LAPD, the police botched the investigation.
Oh, crap. How did they botch it?
None of the police took official recordings of their findings, so none of the officers
Took
there.
notes.
There was no notes. There was no photographs. There was some photographs, but there wasn't like I'll show you some
Detailed.
exactly. There weren't like what Beverly Chase or Connie Lockridge would do.
Right, I'd be like taking pictures out the wazoo, like every angle I could think of.
Yes, ma'am. When the medics left with the bodies and law enforcement cleared the scene, they didn't cordon it off, so people just trampled through the scene. They didn't leave any officers behind to say, stay out of here. They didn't secure the area.
Holy cow. So basically, what they did is just wadded up the tent and threw it. Let's go.
Pretty much.
Oh, my Lord.
And
Okay.
I don't know how big of a help this was, but I mean, at least they were trying. The police enlisted the help of soldiers from the Finnish army to come in and help search for the area.
Well, there you go. That
I
was
mean,
kind of a smart
they
idea.
were trying, but instead of helping, most of the crime scene was further trampled because they're soldiers. They're not trained in what they're supposed to be doing.
So what is the back in the 60s the murder rate in Finland? Was this something that was very unfamiliar to them? Like the police department, like they didn't know what to do. So apparently they've never been trained on how to properly um do a crime scene or whatever, process a crime scene.
Yeah. Here goes Teach asking questions that I didn't look up or think about.
I,
Uh,
that to
but
me,
that's
that proves that they're not used to
but
having to do this.
they're also just 14 miles from the capital city of Finland in Helsinki, so they could have got help from the capital police or
So, like a bigger department is what you're saying?
and Espoo is not a large or not a small city. It had a population of over 300,000 itself.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that the country of Finland
I'm sure
has
they
a
had.
problem with crime like that. There's petty crimes, but there's
I'm,
a huge difference with murder.
I'm sure that they had their fair share of murders. I mean, I don't know if they had like Ted Bundy's or people like that over there.
Okay. Well, it was just a question.
Yeah, a very good question.
Okay.
So yeah, Army came in. They pretty much trampled it. So now we're going to start talking about suspects.
Okay.
The first suspect is a man by the name of Carl Gilstrom, known around Lake Bodom as Kiosk Man,
Okay.
because he owned and operated a nearby kiosk. Sold snacks,
Oh,
drinks,
okay. Little shop.
little shack of a
Okay.
place. So sorry. Um, Being a businessman, you would think that he would be friendly, congeal, helpful, but he was known to be very hostile. He had been witnessed on more than one occasion cutting down tents and throwing rocks at hikers, not hawks at rikers, as I started to say. There were even a couple of people that claimed to see him leave the crime scene, but they were too afraid of Carl to tell authorities.
um,
And Carl himself, both while drunk and sober, admitted to the murders.
who did?
Carl, the kiosk man,
Drunk and sober.
while drunk and sober, both.
Mm.
But in the confessions, Carl displayed knowledge of the crime. However, the confessions were ignored by the police. No, that's just Carl. He'll run his mouth, but he won't hurt a fly.
Mm.
9 years after the murders, Carl completed suicide by drowning himself in Lake Bodom.
Oh, that's pretty gnarly.
This caused DNA impossible to collect.
Oh well, yeah.
Water erodes DNA, especially over time. On a drowning victim, bones and teeth are the best areas to pull DNA from. However, they did not pull DNA from Carl's bones and teeth because it had been just too long.
It was too long, so your DNA in your teeth can dry out or something.
Right.
Then how can they go back onto some things and extract some DNA?
Well, I'm sure now it's a lot better than it was in the 90s when they were doing this. And the DNA was already over 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And now the DNA is over 60 years old. So I don't know if they would be able to nowadays.
Hmm.
So the next suspect was a person of interest all the way up until 2004. So over almost 45 years.
Okay.
His name, and go ahead and laugh at me, classmates. His name was Hans Assman.
I'm sure it's not pronounced like that.
I'm just going to call him
Ostman.
Hans from here on out. Hans. I'll just call him by his first name.
There you go.
His last name is spelled Assmann.
Ostman.
So if that ain't Assman, I don't know what is.
Over here in your brain, yes, that's what it is. You do have a junior high brain.
That's what makes this podcast so wonderful. Hans was rumored to be a former KGB spy.
Okay, that would give him
He was
the skills.
He was originally from Germany, and he lived within just a few miles of the shore of Lake Bodom.
In that direct area?
In that direct area. So what was the KGB? They were the Soviet Union's foreign intelligence and security agency, established in 1954 until the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991.
They were the Secret Service men.
That was such a good song.
Yes, it was. It's the only thing I can remember of it, and I butchered it.
Hans had a reputation of being a recluse, and along with the KGB rumors, he had been accused of several different murders in the area, but none of them had ever stuck.
They don't know how to investigate murder scenes or process it, so you could get off scot-free.
Yes, ma'am.
That's bogus.
The day after the attack, Hans went to a hospital in Helsinki. And remember, that's just 15 miles away.
Right.
Hospital staff reported that Hans's fingernails were black with dirt, and his shirt was covered with red stains that looked like blood.
Looked like it could have been ketchup.
It could have been. Hospital staff further reported that Hans was nervous, agitated, and was very aggressive while there.
Well, then why did he go?
Good question. He had some injuries on his hand. So, you stab somebody so many times that knife's gonna get slippery with blood, and you're gonna end up with some injuries yourself.
Yes, but my thinking was, if you knew it was going to aggravate you that much, why even go? You're a freaking spy, KGB dude. You know how to take care of yourself.
Exactly. Good question.
And if he was that good, he would have known. Maybe they're going to report this.
Yes, ma'am. However, with all this, the police never pursued Hans as a true suspect because they said that he had a solid alibi, and that solid alibi was never released by law enforcement.
Oh, who was he with? Was he with somebody
important? Apparently. Two other local men. Here we go. Polly Luoma and Pentti Soinen.
So two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At different times were considered suspect, but nothing came of these claims.
Okay.
But in March of 2004, there was another twist in this crazy case.
Oh, wow. So it skipped.
All the way up from,
There's a movie. I'm sorry. I'll turn that away now. I taste the squirrel.
March of 2004, another twist in this crazy case. Niels Gustafsson, remember him?
The name? No, I don't know.
He was the one that survived that had the broken jaw.
Niels. Okay.
Niels
Okay.
Gustafsson. The only surviving member of the group was arrested for the murder of his girlfriend and two friends.
Are you serious?
Police claim they had suspected Niels all along, and they have evidence to prove it. What is this evidence?
Yes. What is it?
Niels' shoes had been worn during the murder. They were covered in the victim's blood, but not his own.
Oh.
Niels and Seppo, the other 18-year-old that had been there that night, had got into a fight because Niels had got intoxicated and was apparently a loudmouth.
A little bit aggressive while he drinks?
Apparently. So they get into a fight, and Seppo was a Golden Gloves boxer, so he took care of business,
Good for him.
breaking Niels' jaw in the process.
Was Beppo's hand broke? Or something? I mean, how could they, conjure up this stuff? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
I need to know it all right now.
Niels sought revenge and blindly started stabbing at the tent. This resulted in all three of them dying.
And then he had remorse and brought the girl out, his girlfriend?
Then he tried to hide his shoes. That's when the birdwatching boys saw a blonde-haired man leaving.
It was him?
But he couldn't make it so far because of his injury, so he just threw them and came back.
Mm.
But Niels' lawyers dismissed this claim.
Okay. Of course they would. Defense lawyers are always going to...
I mean, that's their job, right?
Yeah. Dismiss stuff. Oh, well, here's the evidence. No, that's not real.
If they claimed that if there had been a fight and Niels had a broken jaw and all the facial bones broken from this fight, then they would be too severe for him to do all this. He would be in too much pain.
No, he wouldn't. Because if he was all hyped up on alcohol and adrenaline, no, he can
Adrenaline will make you do a lot of...
until you stop in your manic, whatever it is that you're doing, you're all wrapped up into that. You don't know anything until you're coming down, and then you're like, uh-oh.
Real raggy.
Yeah, so...
Also, the 1 mile round trip, because the shoes was found half a mile away, so the 1 mile round trip to hide the shoes would also have been impossible with his injuries. There would have been blood, there would have been swelling, his eyes would have been swelling shut, according to the attorneys and the attorneys' doctors.
You don't have to have blood coming out for a broken jaw.
No, but the broken bones.
Well, yeah, you're going to be swelling, but I'm like, when you are in those moments,
Adrenaline
you
does
don't have
crazy
any
things.
reality.
Right. 1 year after his arrest, Niels goes to trial.
Okay.
And the jury acquits him. Found not guilty.
Gosh. Okay.
So, to this day, the Lake Bodom murders remain Finland's longest unsolved crime.
They had the murderer.
Allegedly. In my opinion, I still think it was the kiosk man. He had knowledge of the crime. He was right there. He committed suicide. One of the articles that I read said that he, in his suicide note, he did say that I confessed for years about it. Nobody will listen to me. I guess I'll have to take myself out of society. But it was only in one article, and so I didn't add that.
It wasn't corroborated with anything else.
Exactly.
Well, I'm thinking if you witness something, or you see something that horrific, it can mess with your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then how do we know that he didn't have mental issues before?
PTSD.
And then this just accumulated, and he really thought he did it.
Right.
I'm going with Neil's.
You think it was Neil's? Well,
of course, nobody will know because there's no evidence because of the stupid people. So
yeah, they weren't on top of things, were they?
no, so there's no way even a cold case can come in and do anything. There's no DNA evidence. There's no nothing.
Mm-mm. So Lake Bodom in the news or in society, as Teach excitedly proclaimed, there is a movie from 2018 or 2016, 2017 called The Lake Bodom Murders. And there is a metal band from Espoo, Finland, called Children of Bodom. And they took their name from the murders.
Okay, that's just wrong on so many levels, in my opinion.
And so that is the Lake Bodom murders. My bibliography for this week, Teach, is allthat'sinteresting.com. The Lake Bodom murders, Finland's most famous unsolved triple homicide. Medcraveonline.com, DNA profiling from drowned dead bodies. Pretty interesting article.
That sounds terrible.
History.com, KGB, meaning, agents, and Vladimir Putin.
Whoa.
I know. Please don't come after me. And finally, AtlasObscura.com. Lake Bodom is the name of the article. All right, Teach. So, what would you give my grade for this week?
I have to give it a B plus.
B plus?
No, yeah, B plus.
I was going to say it's going to have to be that because I already got it wrote down.
They have the tent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they could put this together because now they do have stuff. They can get DNA from that.
Easily. And these pits.
Funky looking tent. I don't understand it. Whatever.
Well, it was probably top of the line back in the 60s.
It could have been. I don't know, but are they going to be. Have they been reinvestigating this?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
You know. All right, Teach is going to reach in and draw out for next week.
Bum, bum, bum. Host choice. Beginning to develop a pattern here.
It's the first host choice we've had in about a month. That's pretty cool.
Is it?
So next week will be host choice, but you know what else it'll be?
March 1st-ish?
It will be episode number 60.
Whoa.
I know. I read a deal online about podcasts this last week that said most new podcasts get frustrated and stop after about their 20th episode. And if you make it past 20 episodes, you're in the top 1% of all podcasts. So we're there, baby. Time to start monetizing.
Is it?
Not really, no. But anybody out there listening, Jesse from Jesse's Pizza, or Mark, or anybody else that is a local business owner that would like to advertise on a moderately famous podcast, we'll point you in the right direction to somebody.
We can advertise.
I was telling somebody this week that right now we're terrible, but we're shooting at horrible real soon. So.
No, we just need to prioritize.
So
the reason why they are not investigating it any further is because of Neil's prosecution. believes that he is the murderer and there's no point going further.
See, I just don't think it is. I think it was the kiosk man.
The drowned man.
Yeah.
Why? Just because he drowned himself, or he had that one confession?
He more than one, because he would do it when he was drunk and when he was sober.
Was it the same story?
Mm-hmm. And he would give details of the crime.
Hmm. Sounds interesting.
So
Too bad nobody took notice.
Thanks, cops.
And so he killed himself because he didn't get notoriety.
No, he killed himself because he tried to turn himself in and nobody would listen to him. So he's like, I guess I need to take myself out.
That just seems weird in itself.
Doesn't it?
Yep. All right, so host choice next week.
Host choice next week. And it will be March. So that means we will be about 3 weeks away from Boomtown Comic Con.
That's right.
So exciting.
It is. And then it's kind of sad because that's
Going to be over.
our only day to hang with our granddaughter.
She'll come. She'll just have to come and hang out at the Comic Con with us.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work.
Oh.
We're going to have to figure something out because...
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, classmates. Well, thank y'all again for listening, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye. Class is dismissed.